Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we plunge headfirst into the most compelling stories and ideas, and sometimes, well, those ideas about the very nature of stories themselves. Today, we're embarking on a particularly fascinating journey. It kind of blends fantastical settings, deep philosophy, and some truly meta-narrative insights drawn from a very, very unique source. What immediately strikes me about this material is how it forces us to question things we usually take for granted, about our own existence, even.
Exactly. What's fascinating here is how these sources don't just tell us to explore fundamental questions about reality, agency, creation.
Yeah.
They make us feel those questions through the characters. It's not just about crafting a story,
Yeah.
It's about how we craft our own existence, both within and outside the pages of a book.
And that's the heart of it, isn't it? Our deep dive today centers around two incredibly rich chapters of narrative. They revolve around these really engaging conversations between characters who are grappling with their own existence, like, are they even real? And at the same time, they're navigating the very practical, sometimes funny, realities of a fantastical world. And then on another level, we get this peek into an author wrestling with the very act of bringing characters to life, creative blocks, debates with her muse. It's all there.
Layers upon layers. It really pulls back the curtain on the whole creative process.
Right.
So our mission for this deep dive is to extract these profound insights on identity, purpose, and the often surprising twists of the creative journey. We'll be guiding you through some truly unexpected revelations about what it means to be and what it means to create. We want to offer you a shortcut, really, to being well-informed, not just about these specific narratives, but the bigger picture they paint for how we understand ourselves and the world.
And as you listen, we really invite you to consider, have you ever felt like maybe a character in someone else's story? Or perhaps wondered about the invisible forces that might be shaping your own narrative? It's a feeling I think many of us can relate to, whether we see the authors clearly or just feel those subtle pushes and pulls. Have you ever pondered the unwritten chapters of your own life? That's kind of what we're getting into today.
Okay, let's unpack this. That profound sense of co-creation and self-definition we'll be exploring. It really sets the perfect stage for Paula's own existential journey. This is where the lines between fictional and real start to beautifully blur. We're going to start our dive with a scene that almost immediately sets this tone of hope and creation, centered around Eldara, the librarian. She's so vibrant.
Yes, Eldara's storytelling is quite captivating. It serves as a beautiful introduction to the themes we'll unpack. It grounds us, in a world where belief and collective effort can genuinely transform perceived disaster into something new, something wonderful, like alchemy for the spirit. She's right in the middle of story time, surrounded by this eager audience. Kids, parents, even the delightfully named Great Fat Hawk, who we'll hear more about later. They're all completely engrossed in her tale called The Sky Has Fallen. She recounts this beautiful story. There's a great wind, blows through a town, so strong it keeps everyone indoors, even the toughest villagers. And when it stops, the children rush outside and the ground is blanketed, not in leaves or dust, but in shimmering blue flowers.
Millions of them.
And their immediate, wonderfully innocent conclusion, with that classic kid logic, the sky has broken, it's fallen down.
It's such a powerful image of perceived disaster, isn't it? The sky itself, this symbol of constancy, order, seemingly shattered. But the town's wise woman, Goldberry, she doesn't confirm their fears. She doesn't try to explain pollen or whatever. She chooses a different path.
A much better path.
Right. She reassures them, tells them to collect every single piece of the sky, all these little blue flowers, and she promises to glue it back together. It's a genius move, really, giving them agency, a job to do when they think everything's fallen apart.
And these kids, filled with just total belief, they work diligently. All day long, bringing basket after basket of blue flowers to Goldberry. They even ask her, with real worry, what if we can't find them all? The sky will have holes.
Which is adorable but also profound, right?
Exactly. But Goldberry, calm, certain, probably smiling that knowing smile, she assures them, no, just bring me all the flowers and everything will be all right. And the next day. True to her word, the sky is blue, just as blue as ever. But the real surprise comes that night. The sky, usually just black, now twinkles with countless new lights, stars they hadn't seen before.
And Goldberry reveals to the amazed children that the pieces of sky that were missing, she filled them in with stars, creating this new dazzling beauty from what everyone thought was a loss, a catastrophe. This story, for you as the listener, it beautifully illustrates several profound themes right from the start. It's not just a cute kid's tale. It's a narrative about how we interpret disaster, that perceived brokenness. It became an opportunity. It's about the power of collective effort, too. Belief. how lots of small actions can build something grand.
Hmm.
And most importantly, it highlights the creation of new beauty, those stars, from what was initially seen as a void, a loss. It sets a tone for transformation, shows that what looks like an end can actually be a magnificent new beginning.
And Eldara's role as the librarian really shines here. She's the perfect person to tell this kind of story. The kids react so strongly, jumping up, clapping, laughing, shouting thanks. They're totally captivated, hanging on her every word. She even gives a little bow, which is just delightful, shows her connection.
She clearly loves it.
Totally. Then she teases them for the next story time, promises to teach them about levers. And she adds humorously, "How would you like to be able to lift, great fat hawk? I know I would," shows her playful spirit. And the library itself is just bustling. Long lines of kids and parents. It really underscores her popularity and the community engagement she fosters. This kind of vibrant, purposeful environment, full of joy and connection. It really contrasts sharply with Paula's initial feeling of being at loose ends. It subtly hints at the kind of fulfilling, engaged life Paula herself might soon discover. Or, well, create.
This contrast is crucial, as you say. It's subtly setting the stage for Paula's personal crossroads, as she moves from her past roles, the ones that defined her, into these present questions about who she truly is. When Paula finally gets to Eldara's desk, she expresses genuine surprise, like, wow, a librarian's job is busy, demanding. Maybe she pictured something quieter.
Yeah, maybe stamping books all day.
Right. And Eldara playfully corrects her, asks, "Don't you mean fun?" And Paula admits, "Yes, I suppose it is, especially if you like children."
Which, it turns out, Paula isn't really sure she does. She confesses she doesn't really know any children. She compares them to elderly actors who often acted like children from her old job, which is quite a comparison.
It is. And she gives examples, too. Henry and Martha describes them as the most outrageous. Characters, she explains, featured in a book for shock value, comedy relief, with foibles that made them hard to deal with.
So this anecdote, it gives us a glimpse into Paula's somewhat jaded past experiences, where even her interactions felt, I don't know, scripted.
Like she was observing, not participating, especially in spontaneous moments like with kids.
Exactly.
Indeed. And it's this current state of being at loose ends, coupled with a sense of maybe emotional void, that drives the impetus for the date. Paula candidly reveals this brief, incompatible past relationship, characterized by an occasional kiss and a few butt squeezes from a handsy fellow. Yeah. It's clear this was not fulfilling, lacked genuine intimacy, respect, and it's this dissatisfaction that leads directly to her asking Eldara out. She's seeking something real, authentic.
She's actively reaching for a new kind of connection, and the date itself offers her this much-needed solace, connection. Paula expresses her relief at escaping the intensity of Rose and Lou's heart eyes. Even though she acknowledges their incredible generosity opening their home to her, she admits, with a touch of exasperation, if I had to watch them make heart eyes at each other without a break, I don't know what I'd have done to myself.
It vividly highlights that difficulty, doesn't it? Observing intense, overt love when you're not feeling it yourself, that feeling of isolation, even when people are being kind.
So true.
This feeling is incredibly relatable. Doesn't matter if you think you're fictional or non-fictional. It's universal.
Yeah.
That desire for connection, belonging, struggling with self-definition when you feel adrift. Paula's vulnerability here speaks to that deeper, shared human longing. To be seen, desired, find your place. And it sets the stage perfectly for her profound self-interrogation.
And it's this very human longing combined with her new awareness of Rose being an author that leads her to the absolute core of her existential crisis. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Paula voices this profound questioning, this unsettling feeling of being just a character.
An extension of Talbert.
Right, an extension of Talbert. And she points out the truly unsettling detail. Rose, the author, couldn't even dream up a name for her. Used her own name, Paula.
Oof, that's rough.
Yeah. And this leads to the critical inquiry, spoken right to Eldara. So the things I want, like a date with you who I thought was intriguing, is this something I want, or Talbert? It's a deep, deep dive into meta-narrative that challenges our fundamental assumptions about free will, identity. The very source of her desires is now suspect.
This is truly the crux of her struggle. A philosophical quandary made intensely personal. But Eldara, with her calm insight, her wisdom, she immediately reframes Paula's crisis. She asserts that these feelings aren't exclusive to her just because she started as fictional.
She says that explicitly.
Yes. She says, not just because you started as fictional that you are the only person to have them. This introduces a truly radical and surprisingly universal idea.
Okay. How so?
Well, Elgara then posits the unprovable nature of non-fictionality. Expanding on her point, she says, with this calm conviction, I'm as far as I know non-fictional, but I can't prove that I'm not fictional.
Whoa.
Yeah. She suggests that anyone, including Talbot and Rose the author and the character Paul is based on, could learn they are fictional tomorrow.
Okay, mind blown.
The implications are truly mind-bending. Just think of the implications of that, she says, if their entire reality could be a construct.
Gods, yeah, the implications. Paula herself reacts with a wry, gods that make me fictional twice removed. That's even worse. Which is kind of funny, but also, yeah.
That Eldara clarifies, emphasizes you can't be fictional squared or absolutely non-fictional. Her core point is that no non-fictional person in any world can truly prove their non-fictionality.
Everyone just assumes.
Everyone assumes until proven otherwise, she argues. This mirrors real-world philosophical concepts, like solipsism or the simulation hypothesis.
The idea that we might be living in a simulation.
Exactly. Both scenarios force us to grapple with the nature of our own existence.
Yeah.
What anchors our sense of reality if it's all potentially fluid?
Which is a heavy thought indeed. It forces us to ask, what truly anchors our sense of reality if it's all potentially fluid? If everyone is just assuming, what makes your reality any more solid?
It's a significant philosophical weight Eldar is dropping there.
For sure. And for her, this isn't just abstract, it's personally reassuring.
Because of her own incredibly harsh upbringing, she reveals her parents cared only about arbitrary rules, achievements, not her individual spirit.
And the detail about her hair, shocking.
Truly shocking. Her hair dyed black weekly from age 3 because her parents wanted their daughter to have black hair, to hide fey blood somewhere in our family tree.
Hiding part of her heritage.
Yes, hinting at this magical lineage her parents saw as an imperfection, something to be suppressed, controlled, almost like they were trying to rewrite her genes.
Wow.
She was forced into a narrow path, master's in quintessence engineering, minor in technology studies, specifically, she notes, to keep her in the engineering department.
No room to explore.
None. Her father even arranged a job for her in his engineering firm post-graduation, closed off any escape routes. She calls her parents the authors of my life, echoing Paula's own fears.
But she didn't follow their script.
No. On what was supposed to be her first day of work, Eldara made this decisive, dramatic act of rebellion, took a coach to Wildwood, a place of freedom, possibility. And in doing so, she pushed back against the authors of my life.
And she hasn't spoken to them since. That's huge.
It wasn't just a career change. It was a profound reclaiming of her entire being, choosing self-authorship over their predetermined script.
And it clearly brought her joy, purpose.
Immense joy, demonstrating the powerful outcome of that rebellion. She declares, I love my life here. I love the library, the kids, even the couple doing inappropriate things in the cooking section are surprising and wonderful.
Love that detail.
You asking me out on a date is surprising and wonderful. It culminates in her core statement of agency. Fictional parents driving me down their path, or non-fictional parents driving me down their path. What's the difference?
Powerful questions.
I'm here, alive, and that sure beats dead. And then, to literally punctuate it, ground the philosophy in the physical. She pinches Paula.
To prove she's alive. Very direct.
Very.
Paula, clearly taken aback but also impressed, acknowledges Eldara's surprising strong fingers and expresses admiration for her rainbow-colored hair, realizing it's her natural color, a symbol of her true self finally flourishing.
Right. That hidden fey heritage, maybe, now embraced.
And Eldara then playfully promises to prove her natural hair color and the usefulness of her strong fingers on their third date.
Has a lovely touch of human connection, doesn't it? Lightness after all that deep stuff.
It really does.
This narrative, then, offers a powerful testament. The origin of our narrative, grand author, societal expectations, whatever it matters, far less than the agency we claim within it. It's about choosing to be truly alive, present.
So what does this all mean? It means agency is key.
Absolutely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it reinforces that profound impact of agency and Eldara's unsettling yet liberating idea of reality's fluid nature. It challenges us all to question our assumptions about what's real.
And these characters show us that unexpected paths to fulfillment often emerge when we just embrace our authentic selves. Paula's transformation really does offer this powerful testament, doesn't it? The origin of our narrative matters less than the agency we claim, choosing to be alive. And that resonates deeply. This message of self-authorship sets the stage perfectly for our next segment. We see Paula starting to find her footing, practically and emotionally, in this new reality. She starts by unpacking her own past, sharing details about her spy career, her literary loves, which are ultimately deep roots of her identity.
Precisely. Paula's story begins with loss and duty. She reveals losing her father at an impressionable age, an event that drove me down the path to being a spy. A career, she admits, with a touch of weariness, turned out poorly. This immediately paints a picture of a life defined by external forces, obligation, not personal choice,
Well, a heavy start, yeah. But it grounds her search for meaning.
and a life of considerable sacrifice. Her mother worked incredibly hard to support them after her father's death, and Paula herself dedicated countless hours, studying nonstop to get scholarships to Oxford.
Her choice of Oxford wasn't just academic, though, it was deeply personal, driven by her profound admiration for J.R.R. Tolkien. She explains, Tolkien was, is, ever shall be my favorite author. Chose Oxford specifically because she wanted to be in the same space as him.
That speaks volumes, doesn't it? That deep need for connection with something enduring, meaningful.
And her favorite book, The Fellowship of the Ring, offers a telling insight into her character, her preferences. She prefers it, she says, because it's the last book that Gandalf is Gandalf. Gandalf the Grey.
Ah, interesting distinction.
Yeah, it suggests a preference for the more grounded, maybe more fallible, less overtly powerful version of the wizard, before his transformation into Gandalf the White.
That subtly hints at her own journey, doesn't it? Grappling with different identities, responsibilities, maybe preferring authenticity, the struggle, over perceived power, or some grander role. It resonates with her own life. The hard, dirty work of a spy, not a glorious hero.
This preference for Gandalf the Grey also kind of speaks to her relationship challenges. She admits never been in a long-term relationship, just college flings, and she points out the spy's ethical dilemma. You shouldn't have to lie to your wife, husband, kids every time you walk out the door.
Yeah, that'll wear anyone down.
Right. Lived her life for work as a spy. Now it's done. She feels at loose ends, untethered, without a clear purpose. A very solitary existence she's describing.
One that Gandalf the Grey, the Wanderer, carrying burdens and secrets, might understand. What's fascinating here is how Eldara, with that innate ability to connect dots, see beyond the obvious, immediately challenges Paula's perceptions, helps her unpack these literary influences, find a hint of her true self. She asks Paula about Talbert's favorite book.
And Paula says Talbert would likely claim whatever it is she's reading. A classic non-answer, right?
Yeah.
Suggests a lack of independent taste.
But then Paula clarifies. Her all-time favorite is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Read many times.
Ah, a significant distinction she's making, even if she doesn't fully realize its weight yet.
This creates a stark, almost jarring contrast that Eldara immediately picks up on. She observes, wow, that's quite different from Fellowship, almost polar opposites, but both great books.
It's a crucial observation. It opens the door for Eldara's truly provocative theory, allows Paula to see a blind spot in her own self-perception.
Eldara then theorizes, she says, if I was an author and my favorite book was a thriller mystery, I'd think that a character based on me, would be raised reading Nancy Drew or Enola Holmes, not a pastoral author like Tolkien.
It's almost like you or your dad choose not Talbert.
It's a direct yet gentle challenge to Paula's belief that her tastes are just an extension of her author.
She's saying Paula's preferences are her own, or maybe from her dad, distinct from Talbert's presumed origin.
It's a powerful act of external validation.
And it lands perfectly. Paula's realization is immediate, profound. She admits, I see what you did there, and I hadn't thought about that. This is a massive aha moment for Paula. An external perspective helps her see a deeper truth about her own identity, distinct from her author's tastes.
It's a small detail, a favorite book, but it's a powerful indicator. She has her own individual preferences, her own unique inner world, separate from the blueprint.
And this encourages us as listeners to reflect, doesn't it? How our own personal tastes, even seemingly trivial ones, genres, artists, can be powerful indicators of our authentic selves, unique to us, not dictated by others. What do your preferences reveal about the author of your life?
It's the true beginning of reclaiming her narrative, finding those threads that are uniquely hers. And Eldara, seeing this breakthrough, quickly moves to practical advice. How Paula can solidify this newfound sense of self, especially in Wildwood. She suggests Paula talk to Juliet, describes her as far different from Rose, someone who always pushed back against Rose, yet Rose still loves her like a sister.
Interesting dynamic there.
Yeah. Juliet is portrayed as nice and open-minded, a perfect confidant for Paula's complex situation, someone who understands navigating strong personalities.
Eldara then asks a direct, blunt question about Paula's future in Wildwood. But with this open-minded grace, she asks, "Am I just a fling? It's okay if I am. I'm just wondering if you might consider staying here in Wildwood for some time, or is this just a vacation?"
It's direct but kind.
Very. Paula, already feeling more anchored, hopeful, expresses her desire to stay, but it's tempered by a very real, practical worry. Money, a common concern even in a fantasy world.
This is where Wildwood's unique economics come into play, offers a compelling contrast to our world. Eldara clarifies, you'd be surprised what little money you need to live a simple life here.
But the castles still cost.
Right, she notes. If you want a castle or tower, you'd have to pony up. Some luxuries still require effort. She then explains the practicalities. Currency exchange. Any money on Earth can be changed. Easiest way. Buy gold on Earth. Trade it for coins in Wildwood. Simple, direct conversion.
And here's a truly fascinating detail about Wildwood's economic stability. Oberon would never let prices rise.
Wow. No inflation.
None. A concept almost alien to our modern economies. Imagine, your savings truly hold their value. Cost of living stays constant. How would that change how people live, plan their careers?
Fundamentally different.
Hildara uses her own choice as an example. Makes 5 gold pieces a week as a librarian. Lives very comfortably.
Okay.
Even though she could make 20 times that as an engineer, but she wouldn't enjoy it.
It highlights how a stable economy, free from that constant pressure of rising prices, impacts personal choices. Pursuit of happiness allows people to prioritize fulfillment over just money.
This raises an important question for you, our listener. What would you choose to do if economic pressures were effectively removed? Would your career path change?
It's a truly liberating concept for Eldara, and now, potentially, for Paula. But then comes Paula's unexpected revelation, her immense wealth, a detail that completely shifts her perspective, solidifies her decision. She discloses the insane amount of money Rose paid her for that heist job.
The one she thought was a joke.
Exactly. When Rose and Talbot first approached her on the beach, told her she was fictional, asked for help, Paula, thinking it was a joke, half-jokingly asked for $10 million.
And Rose just gave it to her.
Rose, with her incredible bibliomancy power, that magical ability to manipulate reality through stories, books transferred the money on the spot.
Wow. Just like that.
Just like that. And when Paula later, feeling maybe guilty or overwhelmed, asked Rose to take it back, Rose refused. Said it was Paula's.
So Paula's rich. Very rich.
Suddenly, yes. This revelation makes Paula realize, with that much gold, she could build a tower next to Sparky. A real symbol of permanence, belonging. She describes Rose's bibliomancy power as insane. Used without thought to help someone. Highlights its spontaneous, generous application.
But also dangerous.
Yes. She adds a chilling, perceptive thought. But if someone evil had that kind of power, I shudder to think what they could do.
Good point.
With this financial security and her newfound sense of self, Paula's decision is made. She now confirms she will stay in Wildwood. A powerful moment. Agency and security converging.
With her future in Wildwood secured, Eldara probes further about Paula's potential vocation. Doesn't want to put words in her mouth, but offers options. So will you work? Spy, detective, secure.
The roles you might expect from her past.
Right. But Paula's response is truly a moment of embracing a new self, a radical departure. She calls herself Paula 2.0.
Love that. Paula 2.0.
And says, with this quiet certainty, I'd like to work in a bakery.
A bakery, after being a spy.
And Eldara doesn't laugh, which is so important, so affirming. Instead, she calls it noble work, helps feed people, recognizes the inherent value in providing comfort, sustenance.
That's wonderful validation.
She even suggests a new mentor for Paula, Lily, betting $10 million she'd take you on as an apprentice because Lily appreciates free labor.
Practical and supportive.
This simple, grounded choice is such a profound departure from her past, from deception and danger to creation and community.
It signifies a complete transformation, a full claiming of agency. Paula, overwhelmed with gratitude, a palpable sense of relief, tells Eldara, Eldara, I'm so glad I got up the courage to ask you out. You've solved half of my life on just one date.
Wow, that's a testament, isn't it? To genuine connection, deep conversation, the clarity that comes from supportive relationships.
That really is.
And Eldara, ever playful, forward, responds with a promise of a second date. Well, in that case, walk me home, kiss me goodnight, and if that goes well, let's have a second date.
A wonderful human moment grounds all that philosophy in a real connection.
I marvel at how quickly clarity and purpose can emerge when someone truly takes agency. allows themselves to explore desires beyond their perceived roles, past identities. It highlights the potential for unexpected, fulfilling new chapters, especially when we embrace our authentic selves and let others help us see new possibilities. Paula's journey truly highlights how a character can claim their own narrative. But what happens on the other side? What challenges does an author face when their creations start, well, pushing back?
Ah, yes, the author's dilemma.
That's what we'll explore as we step into Rose's creative process in our next segment. A fascinating look inside her struggles. Artistic vision versus character agency. We jump straight into Rose's struggle with creative block, observed by her companion, Sparky.
Rose admits to Sparky she's trying to outline her next novel. But every idea I write down 30 seconds later sounds terrible.
Oh, the pain of the empty page? Or the full trash bin?
Exactly. The trash bin is full. A clear sign of a writer's profound frustration, self-doubt. Sparky, ever the literary guide, then introduces her to the terms pantser, writing without a plan, organically, and outliner, who plots meticulously.
Which one is Rose?
Rose, with a touch of humorous self-awareness, identifies as a pantser, adding, who wears skirts? Acknowledging her spontaneous approach, maybe hinting at a feminine touch to her wild process.
Sparky, ever the provocateur and surprisingly effective muse, then takes this rather backwards approach to help her. Instead of focusing on new ideas, he asks us about her previous novel. Works backward through character replacements, Beatrice to Clarice to Darla.
Landing on the crucial pivot. Who did Juliet replace? Rose answers, Darla. It's a way of looking at character evolution. What makes a character truly compelling?
So why Juliet over Darla?
And this leads to Rose explaining Juliet's appeal, a character who clearly captured her imagination. Darla, she explains, was very nice, but a touch dull, quiet, never wanted to talk. Yeah. Juliet, conversely, was the opposite, brimming with personality, making Rose like her, love talking to her for hours about nothing at all. This shows characters aren't just plot devices. They develop distinct personalities that genuinely appeal to the author. Almost like separate entities the author builds a relationship with, a profound insight into that creative process.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the characters in this world have agency that goes beyond the page. Sparky, recognizing Juliet's appeal, suggests a sequel for her, cites her popularity, the built-in base of readers. Makes sense.
But Rose's revelation is truly surprising, even exasperating for an author. Juliet said no.
Juliet refused her own sequel.
Yep. Why? Because Juliet's too busy between the school and the adult literacy lessons.
Wow.
This demonstrates how the characters in this world have a life, agency, independent of their author's immediate plans. The creative process becomes a negotiation, not a dictatorship.
The characters literally talk back, assert their own priorities.
This concept of character autonomy, creations having their own will, is explored further in what becomes a rather spirited and humorous debate about artistic vision versus character autonomy, specifically nudity.
Ah, the nudity debate, always tricky.
Sparky, ever direct, unafraid to provoke, proposes a controversial interview question for finding new characters.
Yeah.
Will you do nudity if the scene requires it?
Rose is understandably outraged. You want me to ask someone I just met to do nudity? Her immediate reaction is incredulity, maybe a modern sensibility about consent.
Sparky, however, presents a pragmatic, if provocative, rationale. Avoid writing 50,000 words into the book only to discover you need a skinny dipping scene and the main character refuses. He's looking for efficiency, avoiding creative dead ends.
Rose immediately suggests artistic alternatives, bathing suit, moonbathing, midnight walks, trying to find a compromise, protect her characters, her own comfort.
Sparky, in turn, defends artistic vision, argues Rose shouldn't surrender your artistic vision as it's what makes you a writer at your core, frames it as creative integrity.
But Rose challenges him right back, identifies the potential for what she calls the male gaze. She asks pointedly, but that skinny dipping is your vision. Isn't that just the male gaze? You want to see the female character naked, pushing back on the assumptions behind his artistic vision.
Sparky counters with an argument for equality, turns the table slightly. Well, of course I want to see the female character naked. If the male character has to get naked, why shouldn't the female character? Trying to normalize it, suggesting a double standard.
Rose then brings up agency again, asks if Sparky would force a character.
And Sparky clarifies. Asking beforehand is precisely to respect agency, not force it, ensuring consent is established from the outset. A fascinating layer. Even in a fictional world, consent and autonomy are paramount.
He then pushes the point, an extreme hypothetical. Characters on a deserted island, one set of dirty clothes, need to bathe in hot springs to avoid drowning if clothes get wet.
What then, he asks, if they haven't agreed to nudity?
Rose, trying to evade the dilemma, maybe her own discomfort, suggests I'd have them bathe off page.
Off page, off page. Where is the fun in that? Sparky retorts. Clearly frustrated, exasperated, teases Rose about her own potential enjoyment of skinny dipping, trying to get her to lighten up, embrace the freedom.
He then delivers his final declaration. There is nothing dirty or untoward in a skinny dipping scene, and if someone says that there is, I'd say that it's them that have the dirty mind, not me.
This intricate debate explores so much, doesn't it? Ethics of representation, male gaze, character consent, how an author's own discomfort or biases influence narrative choices. A truly fascinating peek into complex creative decisions. The power dynamics within storytelling.
With that debate temporarily settled, Sparky, the taskmaster, gives Rose an ultimatum. Before any more hijinks, adventures, or rescues, she must provide a character list. This leads us to Rose's character casting calls, interviewing potential new characters, giving us glimpses into their unique personalities, motivations, the complex negotiations of bringing a story to life. We meet Sophia, Nimrith, and Scarlet.
First up is Sophia, the Romani traveler. Rose interviews her. We quickly learn her background. Romani, traveler, family travels for work. Her motivation for being in a novel, pragmatic. Doesn't enjoy traveling, wants to live in a mansion, states plainly. She'll do the story if a mansion is involved. Clear terms.
Her childhood struggles sound rough, provides social commentary. People threw rocks, blamed for missing items, jailed until 18 for her heritage. She also has a child her mother watches.
Rose, without a setting yet, promises to call back if it's a mansion, respectful of Sophia's conditions. And in a touching moment of pragmatism, empathy, Sophia asks for $50 for baby formula. Rose provides it as interview pay, acknowledging her immediate real-world needs.
Highlights characters with clear, often pragmatic motivations, rooted in hardship, desire for a better life.
Then we meet Nimrith Malin, or Nim, the Grateful Dwarf. Rose is surprised, having only seen male dwarves in paintings. Reveals a gap in her own mental library of character types.
Nim's first impression is profound gratitude. Hugs Rose, cries, expressing immense thanks for saving her daughter, Alina.
Alina, despite being in a dungeon, only talks about Rose, her friends, the magical tower. Now wants a ghost like a pet, Daisy. Shows the positive influence.
Nim's loyalty is fierce, offers to kill for you. Rose politely declines, crediting Daisy for the actual rescue. Illustrates a powerful bond forged through shared experience, salvation.
Nim then reveals another heartfelt desire. Wants to join Rose's book club. Had a negative experience before where wives looked down on me literally and figuratively. A poignant detail about social prejudice.
Ouch.
Nim and Rose quickly connect over having enough in their childhoods, despite not much money. Find common ground and shared values.
Nim, embodying community spirit, wanting to contribute, asks about beer drinkers, plans to bring beer, homemade pretzels, specifically mentions Rose's girlfriend, the Bard, and Paula Becker, eager to integrate.
Demonstrates how characters can embody profound gratitude, community spirit, desire for belonging based on shared values, actively seeking connections.
Finally, we have Scarlet McGowan, the disillusioned lackey. Scarlet has a rather grim, unfulfilling past. Lackey in a horror novel, dismembered in the second-to-last chapter, literally fragmented.
Couldn't even get references from her former employer, who was the main character. Tart in a men's adventure novel. Stripper with a heart of gold and a bank account to match. Very well endowed. As were the two male leads, a very specific, almost caricatured previous role. Shows the limiting narrative some characters are forced into.
Scarlet also boasts a unique talent. Can touch the tip of my nose with my tongue. A very talented tongue, a boyfriend once told her. Okay, then.
Her desire for a new role is clear, poignant. Wants a better life than running errands. Desires dancing or lying in bed with two well-endowed men.
Specific requests.
Very. If it's a horror novel, she wants a promise not to dismember. States she has a pretty good body, wants to be a whole pretty corpse. Desire for dignity even in death. And eagerly jumping on the earlier debate, she enthusiastically offers to do nudity, even asks, do you want to see them now, to prove her pert breasts. Rose declines, stating nude scenes are unlikely, perhaps still reeling from Sparky's debate.
But despite Rose's earlier nuanced discussion with Sparky about male gaze, agency, her stated reluctance for nudity, her immediate plot idea after this interview is incredibly telling, somewhat troubling.
What does she think?
Rose concludes by thinking about a new story. A thief, Sophia, will rob the stripper, Scarlet, with a heart of gold. Then, for a male audience, put Scarlet into bed with two well-endowed men, take off her top in all her pert glory.
Oh, wow. After that whole debate.
Right. It illustrates the profound complexity of the creative process, where an author's personal biases, her own discomfort, or even perceived audience desires can sometimes override stated principles or prior debates about agency and representation.
It's a raw, unfiltered glimpse into the push and pull of creation.
It truly highlights how characters, even within a created world, carry their own histories, desires, vulnerabilities, influencing the stories they can tell, how they might be used or maybe misused by a creator, still navigating her own evolving artistic principles.
It's a powerful, sometimes uncomfortable look at the choices a creator makes, and the subtle ways those choices can reflect broader societal narratives, even when attempting to break free.
Well, what an extraordinary journey we've had on this deep dive. From the depths of existential philosophy with Paula questioning her reality, to the practicalities of building a new life, a new career in Wildwood,
Yeah,
and then right into the intricate, sometimes messy workings of an author's mind, Rose grappling with creation, character agency. It's been fascinating, exploring the layers that make up our perceived reality. So what does this all mean? What's the enduring lesson here for our own narratives?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really reinforces several key takeaways. Firstly, the profound impact of agency in shaping our own narrative. Paula's transformation. From feeling like a mere character to claiming her identity, her purpose. Powerful testament to that.
Absolutely.
Secondly, the liberating or perhaps unsettling idea of reality's fluid nature. As Eldara so eloquently put it, it challenges us to question our assumptions about what's real.
Definitely makes you think.
And finally, it shows the unexpected paths to fulfillment found by embracing authenticity, whether that's choosing a bakery over being a spy or a quiet library over high-pressure engineering. It's about being true to the story you want to live.
And understanding these layers of reality and creation offers us, you, a unique shortcut to being well-informed not just about the stories we consume, but about our own lives, the narratives we construct for ourselves.
It makes you think about the narratives we tell ourselves, right? And the ones told for us, and the immense power we have to rewrite them.
Which leads us to a final provocative thought for you, our listener. Something to mull over long after this deep dive ends.
If our characters in these stories can choose their own paths, pushing back against their author's plans, even their established genres,
what unwritten chapters are waiting for us to choose in our own lives?
and what authors, be they societal expectations, past traumas, our own limiting beliefs, maybe just old habits, might we need to gently or firmly redirect to truly write our own story?
Welcome to The Critique. Today we're diving into material exploring Paula and Rose's lives, their journeys, relationships, and these big questions about agency and, being a character. So, okay, a key theme running through this is definitely this rich exploration of the individual characters, right? Paula and Rose, their distinct paths. We've got Paula on this really engaging date with Eldara, lots of deep personal stuff about her fictionality, finding agency.
Yeah.
And then, right after, we jump to Rose talking with Sparky, all meta about writing itself, character interviews for her next novel.
That's laid out very clearly. And those individual scenes, they're really quite captivating, actually. Paula's awakening, Rose's creative struggles, Scarlett's interview, they each have a lot of power.
Right.
But I do wonder if we've looked closely at how these different sections, while they are fascinating on their own, could maybe be woven together a bit more tightly.
Oh, okay.
Just to enhance the overall narrative flow, the focus, within these specific chapters. Right now, it feels like several compelling mini-narratives.
Right, like vignettes.
Exactly, vignettes. And they feel a little disconnected rather than sort of building towards one larger story arc, at least here. And that can make it, challenging for a reader to track the main plot, to keep that feeling of forward momentum.
That makes sense. So what's the actual risk then? If these moments are powerful individually, does that lack of connection, does it maybe stop the reader from investing fully in the bigger picture?
I think it can, yeah, precisely. When things feel too isolated, the reader might just lose sight of the overarching purpose. So the suggestion here is really to think about ways to create more connections, maybe explicit, maybe implicit, between these really vibrant scenes.
Okay.
Just to make sure each part feels, integral to a single evolving story for the reader.
How would you do that? What kind of connections?
Well, you could use shared themes, maybe parallel character developments, or even structurally interweave things more. For example, one way could be to directly link Rose's authorial challenges right back to Paula's experiences.
Ah, okay.
So, Sparky's pushing Rose to outline a new character? Maybe that's not just random. Maybe it's directly because Rose is struggling to see where Paula goes next, especially after these huge existential revelations Paula's had.
Oh, interesting. So Rose's writer's block isn't just like a generic struggle. It's specifically tied to the philosophical issues her own character is facing.
Exactly.
Wow, that really deepens both arcs, doesn't it? How does making that link specific actually change things for the reader?
Well, it creates this kind of symbiotic relationship, between the two storylines. The reader gets that Rose's creative problems aren't just arbitrary.
Right.
Direct response to the really powerful, maybe unexpected turns Paula's story is taking. So Rose's meta-narrative feels more grounded, and Paula's journey gets this tangible impact on her creator. It sort of elevates both, showing how creation and the created are, tangled up.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Okay, what about other ways? You mentioned structural or thematic links.
Right. Alternatively, you could try to create thematic echoes or maybe parallel structures.
Echoes, like how?
So, imagine after Paula talks about her struggle, being fictional, wanting her own desires.
Mm-hmm.
What if we then have a quick cut to Rose, wrestling with a character's agency in an interview? Maybe it's Scarlet, who's very overtly trying to dictate her own narrative.
Ah, the contrast.
Exactly. That juxtaposition, it would immediately underscore the big themes: free will, creation, but from different angles.
I can really see how that would resonate powerfully for the reader. It sort of shows the theme is universal, even if it's playing out differently for Rose and Paula. But how do you make sure those echoes don't just feel like repeating the same point?
Good question. You focus on the variations within the theme. So Paula's struggle is internal, right? It's personal discovery. Scarlet's, maybe it's more external, assertive, a demand for change. The echo isn't just repeating the problem.
Okay.
It's showing the different ways characters, and authors too, grapple with it. That deepens the reader's understanding of the whole philosophical question. It's like weaving a tapestry. Each thread is distinct, but they all make up the larger pattern.
That's a really sophisticated way to handle it. And for something more immediate, maybe more dynamic, you mentioned interleaving.
Absolutely. Think about maybe interleaving shorter snippets of Rose writing, right in the middle of Paula's date scene.
Oh, okay.
Like just a brief moment of Rose thinking, should Paula stay in Wildwood, or is there another path?
Right.
And then you cut straight back to Paula making a big decision or reacting to something Eldara just said. It gives this little behind-the-scenes glimpse that actually enriches both stories at the same time.
That's really clever. It's like the reader is in two places at once, experiencing the creative struggle and the character's actual lived experience almost in real time.
Exactly.
How does doing that structurally impact, say, the pacing? Does it keep the reader more engaged?
I think it really ramps up the dramatic tension. And the intimacy, too. The reader's caught a privy to the author's internal debate, which then directly informs or mirrors what the character is doing. It makes both sides feel more urgent, more immediate. It pulls the reader deeper into the whole creative act itself, not just the finished story. They almost feel part of the creation.
That sounds like a fantastic way to make the meta stuff feel really, truly integral. Okay, let's shift then. Let's talk about Paula's journey specifically. That big aha moment she has, realizing she's a character, it really lands, especially after Eldara's very deep explanation about fictionality versus reality.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff.
The material definitely makes a strong case for her existential crisis. It raises these huge questions. What's real? What's agency? Especially for someone literally named after her creator, Talbert, who was Rose.
Right. And building on that, that premise is strong. But what if we look at the emotional core? The really high stakes of Paula realizing she's fictional.
Okay.
Eldara's argument, it's eloquent. It offers this kind of swift intellectual resolution. It basically convinces Paula her choice to resist is agency.
Yeah.
But does that maybe diminish the emotional resonance? The long-term impact of discovering something so fundamental about yourself? Paula's crisis feels maybe a little too neatly resolved? It possibly overlooks the deeper, the lingering psychological fallout from a shift that big.
And does resolving it that quickly also risk making Eldara seem, I don't know, a bit too perfect? Like a philosophical superhero who just swoops in, rather than letting Paula really wrestle with it herself? It does feel like we might be skipping over some potentially rich internal conflict for Paula.
That's a great point. Yeah. This kind of revelation, it's not just an intellectual puzzle you solve, right?
Yo.
It's a fundamental blow to your sense of self, your reality. So the suggestion here is maybe allow Paula's internal struggle, her grappling with this new understanding. Allow it to unfold over a bit more time.
Okay.
Use Eldara's explanation not as the final answer, but as a catalyst, a powerful catalyst for more personal exploration.
Right. The start of something.
Exactly. That would let the reader really empathize with the ongoing complexity of her journey towards, self-determination. For instance, you could show Paula having lingering doubts, specific anxieties, even after Eldara's very compelling words.
So even after Eldara explains it all, Paula might still question if her own desires are truly hers. Like, okay, she decides she wants to work in a bakery.
Right.
But maybe her inner thought is this really my desire? Or is it just like a convenient plot point Rose needs for the next chapter, something Eldara just happened to plant in my head?
Exactly that kind of questioning.
How does keeping that conflict alive change how we see her agency?
It makes her agency feel really hard-won, deeply personal. It's not just an intellectual nod, okay, I get it. It's an emotional battle to reclaim her selfhood. The reader sees her actively, consciously struggling to define her choices rather than just being told she can choose. It keeps that internal conflict simmering, showing that understanding something intellectually doesn't just switch off the emotional upheaval.
Yeah.
It highlights that agency isn't just given, it's asserted, it's questioned, often fought for even against your own doubts.
That's a much more compelling journey, definitely. And if we wanted to explore this theme more broadly, could involving another character help?
Absolutely. Another way to go could be to introduce a new character or maybe revisit someone we know, like Juliet, someone who's grappling with similar questions about agency or feeling fictional.
A foil character?
Precisely. A foil. That would provide a different perspective on Paula's journey, allow for a more multifaceted look at the whole theme.
What's the specific benefit of having a foil here? How does seeing someone else's struggle shed light on Paula's?
Well, a foil doesn't just mirror the main character. They sort of refract the theme through a different lens. So if Juliet, say, reacts to the idea of being fictional with, despair, or maybe outright rebellion,
Okay.
that could highlight Paula's quieter determination or her specific path to defining herself. Or conversely, if Juliet finds some other kind of peace with it, that presents an alternative philosophical route, one Paula could consider or maybe consciously reject.
Right.
It adds depth to the central theme by showing its different possible manifestations. It makes Paula's chosen path feel more significant because it's just one of several possibilities she could have taken. It stops the theme feeling like it only applies to her.
That it definitely makes her struggle feel more universal and her choices more deliberate, yeah? So her decision then to stay in Wildwood, to bake, that wouldn't be the end of the crisis, but more like a new beginning?
Exactly. Instead of a complete resolution, think of Paula's decision to stay and bake as maybe the first brave step she takes in actively choosing her own narrative.
Okay.
It doesn't mean the existential quandary is just erased. You could underscore that with maybe a small moment of uncertainty later, or perhaps a renewed sense of purpose that still acknowledges those deeper questions are there. Maybe just a quiet thought about, the subtle difference between real free will and just following a really well-written path.
So it's not about getting rid of the questions, but about how Paula chooses to live with them.
Yes.
Definitely makes her choice feel more courageous and her character arc way more compelling.
Exactly. It's the difference between a character being sort of fixed by an explanation
Right.
and a character actively embracing the ongoing challenge of figuring out her own self-determination. Her decision becomes this testament to her developing agency, a conscious act of shaping her story, even while understanding its meta-origins. And that allows for continued growth, continued exploration of these really profound themes in later chapters.
Yeah, that leaves the reader with a much stronger sense of an evolving, really authentic journey for Paula. Okay, Moving on to our third point then. Reading the notes, it seems like the dialogue between Rose and Sparky, especially around things like nudity and artistic vision, it's clearly trying to explore authorial control, character agency, but in a very meta way. And then we also have Scarlett's interview, which adds another layer, right? Because she's directly addressing her past as a character who was, well, dismembered.
That's fascinating stuff. And the intent, to be meta, to challenge conventions, it's definitely clear. But I wonder if we've considered the potential risk here.
A risk? What kind of risk?
Well, focusing maybe so squarely on Sparky's very blunt demands for, say, skinny dipping scenes.
Right.
And Scarlett's really enthusiastic offer of nudity, which might seem unexamined, perhaps. Even with the meta intent, could these specific interactions inadvertently lean into, well, potentially reductive portrayals?
So the challenge is that in trying so hard to be meta and subversive, it might actually end up reinforcing some of the very tropes it's trying to critique? That's a really interesting paradox.
It is, yeah. While the material clearly wants to explore agency and push boundaries, showing characters wrestling with their creators, these specific examples could potentially be seen as undermining the very agency and empowerment that characters like Eldara and Paula embody so strongly elsewhere.
Okay.
It risks maybe prioritizing shock value or a certain kind of gaze over a more nuanced exploration of what the characters actually desire and what the author's responsibility is. It could leave the reader wondering if the meta-commentary just in these spots might be overshadowing the message of empowerment.
That's subtle, but yeah, a really significant distinction. So how can we make sure that sharp wit, that meta-commentary stays, but without compromising the character's own agency?
So the suggestion is really to refine these meta-discussions and the character portrayals within them. Keep the wit, keep the originality, but do it without accidentally compromising their agency or risking unintended implications.
Right.
The goal should be to challenge authorial conventions playfully, thoughtfully. Make sure all characters, no matter their past roles or narrative history, are shown with dignity and self-determination. For instance, maybe you could shift Sparky's provocations.
Shift them how?
Instead of him explicitly pushing for nudity, maybe Sparky challenges Rose to explore themes like intimacy, vulnerability, or breaking social norms, but in a way that leaves it up to Rose to interpret how to depict those things.
So Sparky might ask something like, okay, Rose, how do you portray true intimacy in a way that goes beyond just the physical description? Show the depth of connection, not just the surface.
Exactly.
That totally reframes the challenge, doesn't it? It prompts a much more sophisticated discussion about what artistic vision even means. How does that shift affect Rose's role as the author in this meta-story?
Well, it significantly foregrounds her artistic choice, and also the character's consent implicitly, instead of just reacting to a blunt demand.
Yeah.
Rose has to actually grapple with a deeper creative problem. This elevates her as an author. It shows her thoughtfulness, her commitment to genuine artistic expression, rather than just, caving in or batting away a sensationalist prompt. It makes her a more active, more ethically engaged creator within her own story.
That definitely strengthens her arc as a writer finding her voice. Okay, what about Scarlett? Her character, her expression of agency.
Right, for Scarlett, the approach would be to really empower her narrative. Make sure her desire for a different kind of role, whether it's dancing or being with two men, whatever it is, ensure it's explicitly framed as her conscious choice.
Okay.
Her choice to reclaim her narrative agency, define her own pleasures, and actively move away from how she might have been objectified in the past.
So her bluntness isn't just for shock value, it's actually a tool she's using to assert her self-worth. You could even show her saying something like, look, I've been a passive plot point for way too long. Now I want a story where I dictate my joys and how my body is portrayed, not some author I don't even know.
Precisely. What's the impact on the reader when Scarlett takes a stance like that? It completely transforms her. She goes from being potentially just a reactive character to someone really assertive, someone actively challenging her own narrative history.
Yeah.
The reader witnesses her agency in action, not just talked about theoretically. That makes her story much more resonant, and it empowers the meta-commentary by showing characters actually demanding control rather than just being objects of the author's discussion.
Her past dismemberment then becomes this powerful context for her current fight for self-determination, adding real weight to her choices.
That's a really powerful way to reclaim a character's story. And finally, then, how can Rose's own artistic stance be strengthened to kind of align it with the deeper philosophical stuff we've been talking about?
Yeah, we can definitely strengthen Rose's artistic stance. Her counter-arguments to Sparky, they could be deepened. They could articulate a really clear artistic ethic, show her growth as an author who prioritizes, say, authentic character voice and consensual storytelling over just going for sensationalism.
Ah, okay.
That would align her much more closely with the philosophical depth we see elsewhere, like in Paula's journey. And it makes Rose a more compelling protagonist within her own meta-narrative, too.
So her chats with Sparky aren't just about plot points, they're actually about her defining her principles as a writer.
Exactly.
That really connects her to the philosophical weight of the whole story, doesn't it? Makes her a more complex, more admirable character.
It really does. It shows her evolving beyond just being a storyteller into an author who has this profound understanding of the ethical, the philosophical implications of her own craft. And that provides a really satisfying link between the internal struggles her characters face and her own external creative process. It creates a truly cohesive and thoughtful meta-narrative.
Okay, so just to recap, today we've really dived into the material, focusing on three main areas for critique. First, integrating those diverse narrative threads for better cohesion. Second, deepening and maybe sustaining Paula's really compelling existential crisis over a longer arc. And third, balancing the meta-commentary and character agency with, well, even more nuance.
Right. We've suggested exploring clearer, maybe more explicit connections between the different scenes, allowing Paula's self-discovery to evolve, over a longer, maybe more complex journey.
Yeah.
And refining those discussions around character portrayal just to make sure agency stays absolutely paramount in every single interaction. And remember, these are just, a few possible paths to strengthen what's already very engaging work.
Absolutely. We're really impressed with the unique voice here and the philosophical depth that's already so present. We definitely encourage you to take these insights, think about refining the chapters, and please submit your work back to the critique when you're ready for more feedback.
Yeah, we'd love to see how the story evolves.